how do you decide the price of the plush and the patterns that you sell? And I made a little spreadsheet and I'll walk you through my process. So the first thing that you have to figure out is the cost of your supplies, which means you need to know how much fabric goes in, how much thread you use, how much stuffing and everything needed to make the plush. I just put like a general cost of anything. I will share the spreadsheet with you as well with all the notes next to it. So you can make your own breakdown. These are just some examples of the prices that I just went from top of my head. And I did them in dollars and in inches or centimeters. I don't know if the conversion is correct, but this is just an example to hopefully make you understand a bit better. So each product that you make is gonna have a list of supplies. So I normally just put them in different categories like the fabric, the thread, stabilizer, stuffing, labels, or anything extra. For example, if you're making a keychain, then you need like the keychain metal part or a ribbon. But for now, I'll just walk you through. So I make a calculation of how much units I use because, you know, when you buy fabric, you buy a yard or a meter of it and you don't really use all of it, but you just use a small piece. So I really like to recalculate all my yards and meters into centimeters or inches per plushie. So let's say for the sake of it, I'm gonna use 60 inches for the main body, 30 inches for like the belly or so, and then it's gonna have some applique with 10 inches. I know that the amounts probably are way exaggerated, but please bear with me. So this is the price per unit that I use, and then I just calculate the cost of it, which is just like a multiplication of them to give me the prices. So this is like for every single category, and I have here an example that maybe it's a little bit more understandable for the keychain on how to do the price per unit. So if you buy a set of 30 keychains for $50, you divide the price by the amount of items without the shipping costs. So this would be, you can see you divide it $50 divided by 30 pieces of keychains. So this means that one keychain would cost you $1.6. So you can enter it here. And you do that for every single resource that you use. And this would give you like a summary of everything that's here, would give you the total cost of supplies per product. So let's say you're making a plushie. I don't know what kind of plushie it is, but it has a keychain and it has a ribbon with it, and it uses $35 of supplies. So the next thing to figure out is the time needed per each product. So I like to break this down as well into different parts that go into creating the product. So this would mean I time myself doing embroidery, cutting and stuffing the plushie, and the final hand sewing. So let's say embroidery takes 45 minutes, the stuffing and cutting takes 30 minutes, and hand sewing 40. So then this is the summary of all the times, and I like to convert that into hours and minutes in order to understand it a bit better or to have like a visual representation. So let's say it takes me 1 hour 55 minutes, so I just like to round it up to 2 hours because it's just easier to understand, but it's also easier to calculate stuff with. And now I have to figure out my labor cost. So let's say that for the labor cost, I want to give myself $10 for every hour that I spend working. So you can, if you don't know how to calculate your labor costs or what you want to put for your labor costs, then I would suggest to just look up what the minimum wage is in your region or in your country and use that as a bit of a baseline. So let's say I just put $10 and I have 2 hours that I spend working on this, so I will multiply $10 by 2 hours, which is $20 for my labor costs to make that plushie. The next thing, which is a very important part of the equation, is the overhead costs. This means that all of the things that you normally pay per year and you normally don't really you forget to faction it on the price, but it's actually very important. So you can think about that, like if you have a website subscription, internet in order to market your products, electricity to run your machine, to run your computer, machine maintenance, which is also a very important thing that we forget about. Just all those little costs that you normally don't think of, but they're crucial to run your business. So what I do with that is, because they are most of the time they're like yearly packages that you pay or yearly things, so I just break them down and I divide them by the amount of days in a year. So here, for example, let's say I sell stuff via Etsy and I have to pay $60 per year to Etsy in order to have the platform. So I just like to divide that price by 365 days in a year, let's say. So that's 0.17, which means that then I get to sum everything from each overhead cost, and this adds $1.71 to my final price, or as you see here, it was kind of rounded up. So then I calculate everything together. So all of these purple prices that we got here, I sum them all together. So you have the total cost of supplies, $35, labor cost, $20, overhead cost, $2. The Excel actually went and rounded it up, but let's say it's like this, which means that the total base price for the product is $75. Sorry, $57. I'm already miscalculating stuff. And on top of that, if you're charging VAT on your products, then you have to filter that into it as well. So I don't know how it goes for you, so I just left like an empty field with a percentage thing. The packaging cost and the shipping to another country. If you're selling or if you're offering shipping within your price, then you can also move it over here and calculate everything together. So these are like the base prices. So I took this price without the rest. And let's say I want to sell a plushie for $60 because my total was $57. But this means that I only have the profit of $3, and the profit normally is what you would invest back into, let's say, buying a new yard of fabric or buying a new machine or anything. So it's just the profit that you would get per each item. So let's say if you would want to say, like, I see a lot of artists saying, oh yeah, but the person XY is actually selling something for $40, so I'm gonna go and sell mine for, I don't know, $40 as well. This means that you are making a loss per item of $17. So you have to always sort of figure out how to price it accordingly, but also stay fair to yourself, because as for handmade products, I feel that it's very important to price your time and the passion that goes into it, because it's not like like it's not, buying a handmade item is not the same as buying something in a shop or something from a retailer, because they're trying to be competitive with their prices to sell more. You're not selling the quantity, but you're selling quality, so you're allowed to charge yourself for the time you invest into giving out the quality a bit more. So don't be afraid to higher the prices a bit, because you can always adjust and lower them later. But if you start in a lower price base, then it's really hard to justify that jump into correcting it to a higher price for your customers. So I hope this explains a little bit more about the plushies or any other products that you sell. And for patterns, I don't really do like a proper breakdown, but I'm more aware of my time, because I want to, or for example, for plushies, I put here that my time per hour is worth $10, because that's like a average something. But for patterns, I'm allowed to charge for my time a bit more, because it takes time out of my day for it. Plus, I'm working on my original design and digital products, so the time is really important there. So I don't have any other pricing breakdowns that go into it, so no programs, no anything else. So I make for that I'm in time. So I time myself on average how much it's for drawing the design, making the sketches and all that things. Then it's digitizing those sketches in Illustrator and getting to the final design in the embroidery program. If there is a plique, then it normally takes me a little bit extra time, because I have to change the colors or have to change something else within the final embroidery thing. So that takes me 10 minutes extra. Then let's say I spent 20 minutes on a tutorial, and because tutorial needs photos and the final listing also needs photos, then I need to do the photo shoot and photo editing and factor that into it, which tells me that making one pattern, if I'm really fast, it takes me 1 hour 50. So I wish those were the times. Normally it takes me about 8 hours or more, but for the sake of just keeping the numbers low and understandable, we're gonna pretend that it takes me 2 hours to make the pattern. So this means that what I said before, like I charge a bit more for my time, because I'm making stuff from scratch and it takes time out of my day. So I'm charging, let's say $30 per hour, and it takes me 1 hour 50 in order to get to finish the pattern, which means that the final price per pattern should be $45. But because I want to keep it affordable and I want to sell it for $15, this means that I have to I divided the price, so this means that I have to sell at least 3 of those patterns to justify the price for myself, in order to make the money back in the time that I invested into it. And sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't, but it's just like trying to balance a bit the speed and the rest. For example, I like to figure out ways to cut down my time of making the tutorial. Instead of 20, then I would say 15, because I use the template that I can just copy paste, which means that it would take me 145 to make, so I would have to sell just 2.9 patterns, yeah, which is still 3, but so I like to just cut down on time that I spend into that, which is a little bit different than it is from plushies, because there you don't have that much influence over, let's say, how much time an embroidery file gets to be executed, or your hand sewing time. Yeah, it can improve over time, but there is not really much time that you can cut on there, so it's a little bit different for patterns, but I hope that this makes sense. So I'm gonna share the spreadsheet with you. I hope that it's gonna be useful, and thank you very much for watching. Bye!